Welcome back to the Webby and O'Neill channel, and thanks for joining us for another video. Some interesting updates from David Ornstein yesterday on Manchester United's striking options in this summer's transfer window on Liam Delap and Victor Osimhen. Get involved as usual with your own opinions, and we'll try and discuss some of your comments throughout today's video. What's your thoughts on this, on Liam Delap as the player? I remember going back to, actually, before we start, Ruben Amorim's first game against Ipswich away, and you come away from that game and all you was talking about was Liam Delap.
Well, I don't often go overboard on a player when I first see him. And that first game I seen him, Ruben Amorim's first game, I said to myself, that is some player. He's got everything. I thought his physicality, his work rate, energy, running back into midfield, helping out. He terrorised Manchester United. And I thought he was unlucky not to get on the score sheet, scoring possibly an hat-trick, but what a player I thought. And I thought he, in the future, someone will be grabbing him. United, #1 target, and quite right, he should be the #1 target.
As you can see on screen there, that's reported from David Ornstein. He is the #1 striker target for Manchester United this summer. But one thing I do like about him, and that's his ball carrying, his close control. I remember his goals this season against Brentford away, Aston Villa away, and it's like that fox in the box, getting on the right side of the defenders, not like worldies, but them goals that all strikers need to score, getting in the right positions with them flicks. And for me, I'm looking at him, he's the same age as Hojland, 22 years of age. I actually think they're born in the same month as well, which I think is February. And I actually think right now he's the more complete player than what Hojland is.
Well, I look at Hojland and I was expecting what I see in Delap, someone who can control the ball at his feet, run with it. No, he's not getting pushed off the ball. That's what I don't see. I've seen him this year plenty of times, and I'm getting more and more impressed with him. His strength, you don't see him falling on the floor. So for me, Hojland, I wanted Liam Delap. That's what I thought I was getting from Hojland. We've not got that. He's got everything. But the strength of him, his strength reminds me of like an early Mark Hughes, to be honest with you. A fighter, got stuck in there, didn't bother him getting tackled or anything like that, but he mixes it. And when you see him run with the ball, it's at his feet, and he pushes players back, he pushes defenders back. He is a nightmare for defenders. And I think, you know, when you look at it, will he improve Manchester United? Of course he will improve Manchester United. He's a goal scorer. He's got no fear, this kid. And I think he'll be an absolute great asset to Manchester United. So the #1 target, definitely Liam Delap. Other teams are interested in him, though. That's the thing. But Manchester United, it is Manchester United, as I say, biggest club in the world. People will say, yeah, but you've not got Champions League football or anything like that.
We're not even in the top 10.
And it doesn't matter where we are. It's Manchester United, okay, and we're rebuilding. And he comes under the Sir Jim Ratcliffe INEOS radar. Young, looking at the wages, he'll get decent wages here at Manchester United.
Yeah, 30 million release clause if Ipswich get relegated, which obviously it's on the cards. And like you say, I think it comes across that area of the price, the age, and the potential there to develop even further as an actual player. But like I say, for me, you're looking back on some of the games this season, you look at the Brighton home game here at Old Trafford, Hojland was on the bench, he chose Kobbie Mainoo as the centre forward. And I think his comments that day on one of the decisions why he experimented him in that role was about more control up the pitch. I think this lad actually gives you that more control up the pitch, especially with his close control. Like I mentioned before, his actual dribbling in how he actually does that going forward, I think is really good from a young lad, especially in a team like Ipswich as well, where it's not possession based as well, where he's having to create his own moments as well to get some of the goals that he has scored. But one problem that we have found this season is decent crosses into the box, and two of the goals that I highlighted before, away to Brentford and Aston Villa, two great crosses in the box, but you've got to be there as a striker to put it in, and he is there to put that ball in. I like his movement in and around the box as well for me.
Yeah, well, he gets in the box. That's what he's there for. He's just, it's like a duck going to water. He knows where to be. And when I do look at him, and one of United's failings is as they go through the midfield, the game breaks down because of the control up front and everything else. He will be an asset up there. He can hold the ball. You're not moving this player off the ball. the strength on him, I think it's superb. He's got no worries, this kid. He's fearless. And when you talk about crossing the ball, he's in there, he wants it, and he fights. That's what I've seen of him all year. He fights, and these centre-halves are frightened to death of him.
It's not that he just fights.
No, I don't mean fight.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But in terms of fights, I mean, how many times have we said to Hojland that we're coming away from a game and we're looking at it like it's been a WWE. He's just constantly wrestling with the centre-backs or the defenders. But what I do like about Delap is when he does come up with that physicality against the defenders, he does give his own as well. He's more than capable of standing there and holding it. But it's the movement. All the good strikers create their own space to receive the ball into, so they're not having to wrestle with all the other defenders or midfielders, and he can carry the ball, he can turn, he can lay it off, but also then get into the box when he does drop deep. I think this player would be a really good signing for Manchester United. And I think a lot of people out there are sceptical because of where he's coming from at Ipswich. I would put that to one side. I think if we don't get this deal wrapped up soon, early, ready for when that transfer window opens, I think you will start to see more and more clubs linked to him and want to have his signature this summer. I genuinely believe that. So I hope Manchester United are putting in the groundwork already. For me anyway, personally, I know you might have different opinions out there.
I don't see how anyone can have any doubts whatsoever. This player will improve Manchester United. Like Kieran says, you know, his ball control. And when I talk about physicality, fighting and all that, what it is, when he comes up against the centre-half, they bounce off him. That's what I see. So when you look at what we've got, Hojland at the moment, right, he's weak. He just keeps falling on the floor. Nothing like Delap. I believe Hojland will stay at United. I think, really, when you talk about strikers, do we need two strikers? I think we do. I think we do need two strikers, but I just still don't think they'll get rid of Hojland. Hojland has got one more year, in my opinion. Still a young lad, okay? Not what we all expected. But this Delap, I am telling you now, how anyone can have any doubts about this player at his age, and when you see his ball control, when you see how he runs, and how he puts the pressure on the defenders by running at them, there's no one at the club, Manchester United, like that. No one at all.
Talking about the physical aspect, I actually do think he enjoys that side of the game. I don't think it phases him whatsoever. And I'm trying to look at the way he does play his game on the pitch. You know, that he's got that high energy up the pitch as well, wanting to get in the defenders' faces, midfielders when he's dropping back. It's similar as well with Cunha and the profile of players they're actually looking for, I think, in this summer, which will actually improve the team. Will it solve all the problems like we've got on the YouTube title today? No, it won't solve the problems, but it will definitely, in my opinion, improve this starting 11 for next season if we do get these two players in.
I think if you go in for Cunha and we get Cunha, I think it solves the problem. I do. I think it solves the problem of goal scoring. That's the problem it solves. Getting them two players in, they're both proven scorers in the Premier League. There's no more like, getting like someone like Hojland. I don't see that happening at all from abroad. We want Premier League players what are proven. Now, these two players, Cunha and Delap, are proven goal scorers in poor sides. And they both work hard, they both get on it, and they both put pressure all over the pitch. And that's what you want. Now, coming into Manchester United, yes, we'll need a couple of more players. We know that. There's a big rebuild going on. But these players are proven. So for me, goal scoring has been the problem. Everyone talks about it. These two will solve that problem. I honestly believe it. I just look at the two of them and think to myself, you're just going to fit right in here. So your hand's going in a nice little glove. They're going to fit in and they're going to excel at Manchester United. That's how I don't normally go overboard. I say it time and time again. Some people call me doom and gloom and that. But these two players together, buying them now, right, I think will be excellent. But like Kieran says, the deals have to be done straight away. And they are the top two targets. That's all the reports out there. These are the top two targets for the goal scorers. And then you just got to look at what are the targets for in other positions. And we'll have to wait and see on that. But solving the problem, I mean, it's been a nightmare. The goals.
I know you're saying it solves a problem, but I'm not on board with that on that side of the fence. I think it improves the team, and I think when you look at the profiles of two players, it's very much needed with that pace in the team and that physicality going down the spine from the top all the way back to the goalkeeper. There's still more players I think needed to be added, but we're not going to get it all done in one transfer window. I still believe it's going to take 3 summer transfer windows, not just to build a starting 11, but build a squad that's capable to be up there challenging in the future. But I think it's a really good start with these two players. And for me, I'm looking at even Joshua Zirkzee. I mean, I think he could have a big role to play next year. I wouldn't discard Zirkzee straight away, but I think in that number 10 role, especially in the way how Delap can link up as well with the midfielders at Ipswich and the wide players. I've seen little glimpses from Zirkzee in some of his build-up play, some of his one-touch stuff. I think them two, just like Cunha, could form a good partnership next season. I know we've got the likes of Ahmad and also Bruno who can play in them 10s, but for me, I don't discard Zirkzee just yet for me, especially if we do get the likes of Delap in.
Yeah, well, you can't dismiss Zirkzee. We've seen him improve game after game after game. But is he quality for Manchester United going forward? Only time will tell on that. I do like the player. I like his attitude, the way he's fought back and everything. But I have to go back to Delap, okay? This kid is going to do the business, and so will Cunha. For me, they solved the problem. No other striker out there, and Cunha, the goal scoring and his movement. And what you've got, I said the other day, and I've said it for a while, the strength in Manchester United isn't there. The physicality isn't there. These two players come straight in and give physicality. That's what I like.
No, I do like it. And obviously, I put up on screen before from that news from David Ornstein on Osimhen, but it doesn't look like he's on Manchester United's radar. And let's be honest, is he on anyone else's radar in the Premier League? And that's always something that's worried me about Manchester United being linked with Osimhen, that no other top clubs out there. And let's face it, all clubs need a top goal scorer. And his stats do prove that with the goals that he has scored at Napoli and even Galatasaray this season. I think he's bagged about 30 or 35 goals over there. But there must be some sort of issues in the background with Osimhen. Is it just his wage demands, in the wages that he's actually demanding, why clubs don't want to go near him, or is there any other issues there? Because like I say, the stats are there, but some clubs don't want to go near him by the sounds of it. So, well,
I spoke about his problems, reports of his problems and that, and probably why take a risk? I don't see why we should. It's all about money. He wanted to go to PSG, and you know what PSG were going to pay. United aren't going to pay that. He's not on anyone's radar. And you have to ask yourself, why is he not on anyone's radar? Yes, 12, 18 months ago, people were talking about him, but no one was going in for him. No one actually went in for him. He wanted PSG, and then obviously problems arose. What them problems are, I don't know. Many clubs in Europe might know what was going on behind the scenes, and that's why they're all backing off. So for me, no chance. He won't be coming to Manchester United, and I don't think they want him, and I don't think he's the right fit for Manchester United. The conversations what are out there with Ornstein and all that, it's as though, he might come to United, but they've got to get Champions League, or he won't go. He might go to Chelsea. He wants Champions League football and all that. That's not the type of player you want if that's what the sound bites are out there anyway. You want someone who wants to come to your club and fight for it and be part of that club. So for me, coming to Manchester United, any player, I'll come to Manchester United because you're in the Champions League, and that's the only reason why. That's not the type of player you want, and that's what it sounds like, what Osimhen is.
Yeah, of course. And you're looking at even teams like Arsenal, they're crying out for a centre-forward who has got the stats like Osimhen has, and, there's no links there, even Chelsea, and other clubs around Europe, like I say, everyone wants a proven goal scorer, and no one's really going near him. And for me, I think it's probably likely that he might end up in the Saudi League on 600, 700 grand a week over there. But, let's wait and see on that one.
I think what you've got to look at, you've got to look at United's wage structure, right? Yeah. His wage demands, right, they were talking about 18 months ago, 2 years, was just massive. Well, all the clubs in Europe, as far as I'm concerned, aren't paying that. They're just not paying that. So he's forced himself out of the reckoning, as I understand it, because of his wage demands. And United have got a structure. They've got a structure in bringing youth through. So at the end of the day, Delap is the striker. He's got the youth. He's got everything about him. And for me, cost-cutting at United, Osimhen, the way he is and the way these demands are, and you might be right. You might be right. Saudi is the place where he'll go. And then if he does go there, then that'll just show everybody what it's all about with him.
The thing with Delap, going back onto him as well, I think he looks like a type of player, the character that he looks like on that pitch as well, where he'll demand where he wants these number 10s, the wide players, the midfielders, where he wants them to put the ball through him. I don't think Hojland maybe does that enough. I think you see a lot from Hojland when the passes haven't been given into him or where he thinks the ball should have been done. He then starts, maybe now and again, having a little bit of an argument, a little bit of tempers flare with the other players, where I think with Delap, I mean, with Bruno Fernandes, I mean, even with Ahmad behind him, you would expect chances to be created next season with improvements made in this summer transfer window in the team with Cunha as well. Hopefully for me, we still go for a right wing back. I think we desperately need a right wing back on that side. And if we can get players in there that can get up forward, getting balls into the box. I mean, this player's movement in the box is really good, especially for someone so young.
Look, everybody out there will tell you, okay, simple as this. Hojland has been a massive, massive disappointment this year. Everything he does, he seems to fall over. He can't keep hold of the ball. He can't bring the team into play, and he's not scoring goals. So the facts are there, okay? I've stuck up for him. I was hoping he'd improve. He's not improved, okay? He's had a couple of good games here and there. That's it. Let's hope over the next few games, he does do the business. I want him to do the business, but I do believe Manchester United are going to keep him anyway, regardless of anyone's thoughts out there. But he has been a massive disappointment to the goals. He's not in the right position. He seems to lack physicality, and that's disappointing because I look at him and he's a big lad. So all I'm hoping for Hojland is that in the summer he regroups. He does the business until the end of the season, and then let's see where he goes. But for me, as soon as you bring Delap in, he's the number one striker, and he's got to sort of rejuvenate himself, Hojland, and be the player I thought we was getting, because I've been very, very disappointed over the last few months with what's gone on the pitch with him.
Yeah, you know, add Xerxes into that. I mentioned him before, but I don't think Hojland and Xerxes look like natural goal scorers. And for me, you're looking at their stats this season, I think it's 6 goals combined, Hojland and Xerxes. And, you know, Liam Delap, like I say, in a low possession-based side this season for Ipswich, has got 13 goals in the Premier League. I think there's a lot of scope there for improvement with this lad in, like, all the characteristics that we've mentioned today. But as we're talking about a bit of finances, stuff like that here at United, I mean, one player ever since January, I wouldn't say I've been worried about, but a player that I expect to leave this summer, and it could be a high-profile casualty, and that's Garnacho. I still don't have a strong belief that he'll be here next season, me.
No, the January put the jitters up, everyone. Obviously, the discipline with Amorim dropping him against City at the same time as Rashford sort of put a doubt in the mind. So there was conversations going on and words out there about him possibly moving to Napoli, and that they were targeting him and all that. Has that gone away? I don't think that's gone away. We was talking about it the other day, and we don't think that's gone away. Now, obviously, there's stories out there about he's put his house up for sale, he's looking for somewhere else to live. His family, the people what were staying with him, they've gone away. So people are trying to put 2 and 2 together, but you don't really know what's going on here. He could be sold. I thought there'd be a lot of improvement from Garnacho. United may cash in on him. Me personally, it's the same with Hojland. The young, I think another year to get the best out of them and see where they are. You know, we need players in there. We need young players, right? The Hojland, for me, can improve, but will he? That's the thing. With Garnacho, I know there's improvement in there on him, and I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's an attitude thing, but what he has improved on is his work rate. So that's one thing what Amorim's getting out of him. But is he a winger? You know, does he want to play out on the wing? Does he not like being moved about? Because he has been moved about, and that's the thing. He might have a little bit of a cob on there, and if opportunities do come to go somewhere else, he just might take it up. That's my fear with him.
Yeah, like we've discussed, you know, with players these days, all they want to know, apart from what they're being paid, is how much game time am I getting and what position am I going to be playing in. And for me, with Garnacho, if you was to ask him the question, would you prefer to play out on the left-hand side as like a left winger or a left forward, or play in that number 10 role? I think he'd more than likely say out on the left. And is he going to be able to get that position under Ruben Amorim? No, he's not. Other clubs out there might be able to offer him that. And you're looking at the wage structure with Garnacho. I think the reports are he's on 50 grand a week. I think he's still got a couple of years left on his deal. But if you're looking at the likes of Ahmad, who's roughly now on 120 grand, there's talk still ongoing with Kobbie Mainoo. What's he going to get paid if that does actually come to a resolution between club and Mainoo? And maybe Garnacho's thinking, well, I've probably done more than these two in my time at Manchester United. Maybe I want a pay rise. Will the club then actually sit down and discuss new terms of Garnacho? I don't think they will just yet. And I think clubs out there will spring on that opportunity where they can offer him 100 grand a week. And let's have it right. I mean, Garnacho, for me, has got all the attributes to be a top player. He's got the pace, he's got the dribbling, he can score goals. And with you saying about his work rate, that has improved under Ruben Amorim. And it's also a coach's job to get the best out of players. Let's not forget that. We're talking about Hojland, disappointing season. Not just Hojland, many of the other players. But it's also a coach's responsibility, and what they're paid for is to get the best out of, especially the younger players. We all say out there, the younger the player is, the easier it is to mould into the player and the position that a coach wants. And for me, I think Garnacho has the attributes to improve, and it's also the coach's responsibility, plus the managers, to get the best out of players like Garnacho, surely.
Well, what I don't want to see is what we're seeing with Anthony. Anthony is a winger. Coaching didn't work. Something was wrong there. Goes away. Next thing you know, he's flying. He's just loving his football and that.
It's the tempo of the league and the physicality.
I'm comparing it.
Yeah.
I'm worried about it. I'm thinking to myself, if they let Garnacho go and he played out wide where he wants to play, and you know, things were going well for him there, I would be ill, to be honest with you. That's why I think we should give him another year. But you know what agents are like, players are like. If he's on 50 grand a week and there's no talks about improving his wages, when there's other young players with their wages being talked about improving, then you just don't know what's going to happen here. He might just have eyes somewhere else, and it might already be sorted, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I do. Like I say, I like Garnacho. Yeah, you can point to some of the issues we might have seen over the last 12 months with what you might call out there petulance, etc. But listen, we all make mistakes. He is a young kid. He's still learning. And for me, I just think that he's got the attributes there. What, you know, coaches out there around the world wouldn't mind having in his team, especially if they're looking for someone on that left-hand side where they can develop a player as well. And I think for clubs, the financial side of it, I think it makes sense for him, for his current wages at United and what then can offer him. And I do think that, look, let's face it, it's been a very, very poor season, the worst season in my living memory. And we can't start just hoarding players just based on attributes or what they might be in the future. I mean, but for me, I think it would be a mistake to let Garnacho go. I think it was a mistake last season to let Scott McTominay go, and we've seen what he can do. Not many players, when they leave Manchester United, do go on to bigger and better things and actually perform to a better standard. But I do think Garnacho would end up doing that.
Yeah, I think he would. What we need here is wingers. United's always had wingers, and that's the tradition. To let a young kid go, it just might come back to bite us. But hey,
he seems the only threat as well, like the outball. You know, when United are in a low block, you know, we're defending and we're looking for that player further up the pitch who's in space, creates space for themselves. He looks like the only outball. There's only really him and Bruno who look like they're ever going to create something or even going to grab a goal.
Yeah, but the thing
in the
is,
attacking side of it,
Garnacho would have more space out there. Right, you say attacking threat, the outball. That's because Hojland isn't the outball. Hojland isn't doing it, and it's not. You know, if he held the ball up and like turned and kept the ball at his feet instead of losing it, and got himself in the box more than what he's doing, then I think that space out there for Garnacho out wide, there'd be more there for him. So that's. he is the out ball. I agree, he's the out ball. But Ahmad will be the out ball. So if you've got Delap up there and you've got Garnacho there, for instance, and Ahmad, plenty of balls there, plenty of space for these two young wingers to run into. That's how I see it. I think it'll be exciting if we get Delap. But for me, Hojland's still got a lot to do, got to learn, and I think it might be a good thing, really, for Delap to come in. I think it might give him a kick up the backside. Yeah. But Kieran did mention the coaches and everything. We're not seeing players develop. We're not seeing players get better. That has to be a big worry. It's a big worry for me. We're not seeing them be better. I'm not seeing many players improve here, maybe because of the turmoil within the club and everything else. You know, my eyes might be deceiving me. I don't know. But this summer has to come out fighting from the first game, and they have to get it right in the summer. And Delap and Cunha have to be in straight away.
Yeah, and of course, for me, he's mentioned it many times. I mean, it's like he does 1 or 2 interviews a week, Ruben Amorim, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this, but he always points to the summer, having that pre-season, you know, to get used to his players, not just in the way they play football, but off the pitch as well. And, you know, the amount of times he says that, you know, if we don't see that improvement in the first 10 or 15 games, he might just actually die on that hill with some of the comments he's made about improvement, and you'll see that come the start of the season, because he's had that pre-season down him. And we've mentioned, you know, coaches and managers, they're paid to improve players. You can't just have a checkbook manager who has to keep going out buying players just to play the system that they want to play, or the profile they want and the club want. You've got to improve players, and that goes for even Rasmus Hojland. Some people out there, opinions that is just not good enough, no matter who the coach is, Rasmus Hojland. And you may be right, but let's see if we can get a full season down him next season, like some of these players, and see if the manager can improve him. And then we can look at it of like, is Hojland actually good enough, or is it down to the manager, the coaching staff, and other players as well? But I do like what we went back onto, Cunha and Delap. I think that's the right type of profile I want at this football club from players. Right attitude as well, and that's something that we've been lacking.
Well, what we're lacking at the moment is confidence in the goalkeeper. You know, I was asked the other day.
I think you need to turn up to the training ground with your gloves.
No.
I used to call him the cat. He used to play as a goalkeeper, great goalkeeper, you know. He was.
Man of the match in a cup final, but hey, that's another stuff.
With a cig in your hand, with a glass of brandy as well, if I remember at one point, chesting it over the centre forward as he come rushing out.
Some might say, yeah, this goalkeeper, what we've got now, needs removing. I look at it. I was asked about Ramsdale, Southampton
goalkeeper,
and it was a conversation I was having back and forth, and I say to myself, is he an upgrade? Is he an upgrade on Onana? People, I've seen 1 or 2 comments the other month about him. I don't really know. I look at it, Arsenal, when he was, this is my opinion, I look at it when he was at Arsenal and he was leaving there. The Arsenal fans were in uproar about it. But the question is, anyone who's talking about, or it comes up in the future about Ramsdale, you just don't know with these reporters. He might get linked, but if he is linked, is he an upgrade? I don't think so, me personally. Decent goalkeeper, that's what he is. But what I look at a goalkeeper, and United have to seriously look, I believe, at a goalkeeper, even though I don't think United will get rid of him this summer, Onana. If you're going to have a goalkeeper, you've got to go for the number 1. And I don't know. I would never put Ramsdale in Manchester United. Not the type of goalkeeper, not the stature. We need to go and get a top number 1 goalkeeper. If United, and this is a big if United consider getting rid of Onana.
Onana. Ramsdale shouldn't even be in the question to even become a Manchester United player, or even a number 1.
It's not in my discussion.
Goalkeeper. I mean, I go back to a podcast he done, and I'm sure it was Peter Crouch. I don't think I'm dreaming this up. And he was talking with Peter Crouch, and he was discussing the problems he has with his concentration in games, where his concentration actually wanders through the game, where he starts like listening to the fans or listening to what's going on actually around the pitch. And for me, That was big warning signs, and he was still at Arsenal. And I don't think it was too long after that podcast you started seeing Arteta then going for Raya, because he must have seen the same problems as well. But for him to come out publicly and admit that, I remember thinking, like, what's all that about? You're a professional goalkeeper. You need to have your head on, not just the goalkeeper, all the players. Your concentration needs to be one of your biggest assets. And this guy's probably stood there for out 90 minutes, and at some points, having a look into the stands, having a look at fans, listening to what the chants are. And like that.
Look, I'm not advocating Ramsdale. I'm shutting the conversation down. I've seen the conversation starting online. I've seen comments here with us on our channel about Ramsdale. I'm cutting it down, okay? It's not good enough. It's not an upgrade. If we're going to get a goalkeeper, okay? A lot of people considering that we need a new goalkeeper. Onana's not good enough. Well, I'm cutting it down, the conversation. You won't be hearing me mentioning Ramsdale again. That's why I've mentioned it, okay? Because at the moment, that's the only person what I've seen conversations going on about. And I've just recently had a deep discussion about certain players, right? And Onana come up, right? And it battered me head, right? That Ramsdale was on the lips of this person and persons as a possible replacement. Not a chance.
Yeah, a few people getting involved with Ramsdale, whether they'd like to see him in a Manchester United shirt, and it's gone as expected. Not a lot of people would like to see him in between the sticks.
Well, that's good, because I'm cutting it down. Don't be coming on here and screaming and shouting and saying Ramsdale's the goalkeeper now. He's not. It's not an upgrade. If we're going to get an upgrade, okay, we have to get the best, okay? We've promised the best and we've not had it, okay? Behind the scenes and everything else like that. It's been carnage, okay? We now need these two players who seem to be the two targets, what specifically Manchester United going for, Delap and Cunha. And then if we can get two more players in, that'd be fantastic. But it all comes down to money, okay? Can we get rid of a lot of the players what are out there, like your Rashford, your Sancho, your Malacia? People have forgot all about Malacia. Okay, off he goes. Okay, so then you've got Anthony as well. These are the problems. If these players aren't got rid of this summer, the problems will continue inside Manchester United. Trust me.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it on that note. I think it's a good way to end it, because don't get me wrong, we're always optimistic with a football club, and let's hope. I'm not trusting it, but I do hope that we have a good transfer window this summer, because it's desperately needed to see improvements on the pitch next season. And I'd just like to thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, brilliant.
Getting involved with a lot of the chat around Liam Delap, Osimhen, a lot of people getting involved as well, giving their preferred striker options in this summer transfer window. And obviously Ramsdale is definitely a no-go amongst our community anyway. But if you want to see Ramsdale between the sticks, get involved, but you've got to give your reasons why.
You better give your reasons.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow with another live stream. You enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you again soon. Don't forget to smash a like on the video as well. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.